This is a motor we had at Fontana that was a fresh motor that we had a problem with a part. So I just took it apart yesterday to replace that one part and going back together. So it's still a fresh motor. We didn't have to go through the heads and do a new valve job or new rings or pistons or anything because everything was pretty much new when we went there. So we took the whole thing apart, fixed the part, replaced the part we needed, and we're just reassembling, and that's why there's still oil and stuff on this, because this is still a fresh build. This is a motion control tool. It allows you to turn any wrench into a torquing or a ratcheting adapter for places you can't get, where you got to tighten or torque a nut or a bolt that you can't get to with a socket or any sort of wrench or anything. This nut you can get to with a regular socket and extension, same with the two outboard nuts on this side. This one and these internal ones, there's no way to get a socket in there. So you then use your wrench with this torque adapter. It sets it on there, and then you apply your torque wrench like this, and allows you to torque it. As long as you torque this at 90, have the torque wrench and your wrench at 90 degrees, you leave the same torque in here. If you change it and make it that way, then you're adding length to this, and you have to, this reading will actually be more applied at the bolt or nut, because you have a longer leverage arm. And the way this is designed is for this point to this point, not to that point. Whenever you torque a really specific head or a pattern of bolts that go across, like if you were bolting together a crank and an inline four or the head or anything, you have to do all your bolts in stages so you have an even amount of torque going across. If you torque them to max value here, then it could potentially twist or warp the head or the block surface. Even though it's an older design, it's going on 10 years now.
96 was when they initially started.
So it's, it's the design, the whole architecture of this thing is over 10 years old and it really hasn't changed. But it's still a pretty efficient, usable power plant that is very reliable. So it's very neat to see, after working on inline fours, and how they try to tweak little things year after year after year, and then you go back to something that's been around for a little while and still is pretty functional. But kind of scary when you think if they applied the technology that's been learned and applied the last 10 years of what this thing could really be.
It's called a V4.
Well, all the drive pieces in this thing are gear driven. You have all these, you have marks, timing marks that you have to line everything up. So when you assemble it, everything lines up, and you have the cams and your balance shaft and everything rotating at the proper timing. So you have keyways on these shafts that line up a gear. Then you have little dots and hash marks that you line certain gears up with. That's how they all match together. Right now I'm just getting ready to start setting up my cam positions. The way this is designed, you have to take the sprockets off the cams. So I'm just getting there's hash marks in the sprockets that have to be lined up for a particular TDC and whatever cylinder you're on. So I get those ready, and then I'll position the cams and lock them down pretty close to where I feel they need to be for the cam timing I want to run. I'll do that on both cylinders, and then I'll go back and do actual cam timing when everything's in place. We're taking so much off the heads that we have gone beyond the limit of this hydraulic tensioner. This is the cam chain tensioner. Unlike all your inline four ones, which are mechanical hydraulic, where it has a lock so it cannot collapse, but it still is pressure fed. So as chain slack, the oil pressure pops it out more clicks. This is strictly hydraulic, kind of like a car lifter. So we've taken so much off the head, we created so much extra slack in the chain that we're beyond the mechanical limits of this piece. We now have to shim this to regain the extra slack that we've gained in the cam chain. One of the things that makes this engine take longer to assemble than a normal inline floor is you have to do everything twice. You have to do cam timing twice. You have to assemble the heads twice separately. So it adds, a couple extra hours into the whole assembly.